What is going on, guys? Welcome to another vlog. As spring comes, we are moving into another riding season, and I wanted to go over, yes, I still do have the 2018 Z900. I know it's been several months since I posted anything, but we're gonna go over how to do an oil change on it. It's something that I've been wanting to do for some time. Get this bike ready to go. With the cold weather that came in recently, you definitely wanna check your bike, make sure everything is running fine, check your chain, check your oil, and do all your proper maintenance stuff before you start taking it out on a ride, before it goes into the next season, whether you're the next season for track, as track season's coming up, or whether it's your next season for, riding every day. Due to the weather being better, it's important to check on your bike and make sure that everything's running. So at this point, I'm gonna do an oil change. I haven't done an oil change in a while. That mixed with the weather and everything, I definitely need to get one done. I think I got one oil change last year, and since my trip to the Ozarks, since my trip to the Twisted Sisters here in Texas, I haven't done an oil change. So we're gonna go ahead and start with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over things that you need. And again, this is a 2018 Z900 ABS model. If you have a 2020, I'm pretty sure it's the same, but don't quote me on it because I'm not on a 2020 Z900 or any other naked bike that you guys might have. The best thing about having a naked bike is that you don't have any fairings, so you don't have to pull off plastics to get it off. I remember when I had my R6, in order to get a oil change, or even my Gixxer track bike, I needed to pull out a whole bunch of plastics, and that was no fun. So having a naked bike, one of the benefits is that for maintenance stuff, it's basically right at your disposal. Everything's right here, and everything's reachable without you pulling out too many things. So to go ahead and start, you're definitely gonna need some tools. I have a socket wrench and a 11/16 that is basically the counterpart of a 17mm. I also have a 17mm wrench. You can use this to take out the drain plug, and that's these three tools is probably what you're gonna need in order to take out the drain plug. Either one of them you can use. One thing that I really like to use, and a lot of people will use like a oil filter wrench to take out the oil filter. I have this little adapter that will fit into the socket wrench, and that way you can just pull and tighten the oil filter as you need to. If you have a torque wrench as well, you can use this with a torque wrench to put the right specs. Now, I don't really follow torque specs. I kind of just hand tight it as much as possible. Changing oil as many times as I do, I kind of learned that even just making it man tight as you will, or hand tight, would be okay, and I've never had any issues doing it that way. You're also gonna need a performance, or you don't need a performance filter, but you're gonna need a filter to replace your bike. For the Z900, I'm gonna use a K&N filter. It's what I've always been using. That and high flow filters are the only two filters that I've ever used, and I have good experience with them, so I'm not gonna change. As for oil, I'm gonna go with the AMSOIL 10W40. But what I usually do when I get started on an oil change is I start the bike up, I get the bike going. I haven't started up in a while, probably about a week or two. So you start it up, make sure the oil flows through the entire bike, get warms up, that way there's no gunk in it. And it can flow through your bike if there's any gunk or anything like that, or any dried oil or anything that inside your engine or through your lines, that it'll flow through as it warms up. I let it rest for a little bit, and then I go ahead and pull the drain plug. So again, see, you really don't have to take off anything to get to the drain plug. The drain plug's right here, and when you're looking at the bike, it's right below one of these fairings, and you don't even have to take off that fairing. So that's a 17mm, and then you have your oil filter right there. See, I used a K&N the last time, so I'm gonna use a K&N again. The other side over here is going to be your oil filler cap. So what I want to do is go ahead and pop it open. That way you get a little airflow. So when you pop the oil drain plug, you get that little bit of airflow to push the oil through. So just pop it just a little bit and that'll work. Obviously you're gonna need a little bucket or bin in order to catch the oil that's coming out. What you want to do is just grab this here. You just want to pop it. And what I'll do is, since it's already loose, I'll just go ahead. You see the oil coming out just a little bit right there. And I was able to get the nut before it overfilled. Now if it falls in there, it's fine. You just gotta clean it out a little bit. That oil is looking dark. So this is why it's good to check on your bike every now and then, even if you haven't reached the mileage. Sometimes storing it for a long amount of time, when you don't ride it for a while, the oil, you know, starts getting sludgy. Oil becomes old, obviously, and you want to make sure you get some fresh oil in there. I also have the bike on a stand right now, so having a stand is great because it kind of levels out the bike, but I'm gonna drop it from the stand so that it can get more of the oil out from the bike. You kind of move it around a little bit so that you can make sure you get all the oil out. Now that's going, we're gonna move to the oil filter. So again, the oil filter is like in a place where, you know, it's reachable, it's accessible. That's what I love about naked bikes. You can always reach certain places of the bike that you can't do with a sport bike. So I have this adapter, and all you really have to do is, you know what, this might be the adapter for the this might be the adapter for the Gixxer. Oops. So same thing, it's a 17 millimeter that you can use on the K&N filter because it has that little attachment, and you can pop that right here and slowly pop that oil filter loose. So see it come out. It doesn't take much. I mean, just cracking it a little will make it loose, and then you can kind of take it out by hand. And that's why I always say, like, or that's why I've always been a proponent of just hand tight the bolt, hand tight the filter. There it goes. So what I'm doing right now is I'm wiping it off because I want to make sure that the little bearing here is actually on the filter. So this thing right here, little gasket is on there, because if it stays in the bike and it gets stuck somewhere in here, then you're definitely gonna have to try to pull it out, because when you put that new oil filter in there, it's not gonna be able to sit tight. I'm gonna let it drain and I'll be right back. So while we're waiting for that to drain, let's go ahead and pop this filter. It's got a little plastic on the end right here. Take that off. So remember what I showed you before, that little bearing here. You gotta make sure it's there and it's good. It didn't pop off. before you put the filter on, you want to prime it. You don't want to just start the bike with an empty filter. It's not going to be good for the bike. It's not going to be good for the filter or the life of your filter. So you want to prime it, and the way you can do that is take some oil, kind of fill it a little bit, about maybe a quarter of the way. Some people put it all over. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you're gonna put it in the bike anyway. You don't want to overfill it, because when you're putting it on the bike, you don't want it to spill. So we're gonna go ahead and prime this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it over the old oil. That way I don't make a mess. And I'll take a little bit of this, throw some in there. You can use your finger to kind of make sure it's going all around. And again, like I said, you can hand tight it, or you can use the adapter with the wrench so that you can tighten it as much as you can. So let's go ahead and put this in here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and screw it in. The adapter on here. You just want to hand tighten it as much as you can. Alright, so we got it flipped around, we got the filter in, we got the drain plug in. What I like to do before I put oil is I want to put like a towel, like a white towel, or in this case I got a yellow one, right below my filter and my drain plug. So I can definitely identify if I'm putting in oil and for some reason the drain plug or the filter is not on tight enough. I do it as a safety precaution. I don't think it's ever happened before where I didn't make it tight enough or I didn't put it up to spec, but I always do it just in case as a safety precaution. So right here is our oil filler cap. That's where we're gonna put the oil. So you're also going to need a funnel, or you want a funnel, it's probably better, so that you don't, spill oil all over the place. And then you also want to pay attention to your oil gauge. Make sure it's not going too high and everything like that. Now, for the Kawasaki Z900, it says that it takes 3.8 quarts of oil. So we're gonna go ahead and put 3.5. We'll try to do estimate 3.5, and then we'll see where we're at. We'll start the bike and see if we need to add more. It's always better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to overfill the bike and have to drain it again. So I got my AMS oil here, and we'll go ahead. This one right now shows that it has about a quart, maybe a little over a quart. We'll go ahead and add that. So right there, that's about 3 and a little bit over a half. It could be right where it needs to be at. So let's look at the oil gauge. And it looks like as long as it's between these two lines, it should be fine. So I think that's where it's gonna be at. We have to start the bike. Sometimes when you start it and let the oil go through the entire bike, you need to add more. So let's start the bike, let it run for a little bit, and then when we turn it off, we'll see where it's at. All right guys, so let's see. I started it up. It's dead center in the middle. What you also want to do is you want to drop the stand and then just kind of hold up the bike and look at the gauge as well. So when I did that, it was a little bit higher, not that much, but it's still between the two lines, which puts it where it needs to be. If I want to if I go for a ride later on or anything like that, and then I come back and I check it out, and it's a little bit lower, then you can just add more. But I think we're gonna be safe for now. I already placed the filler cap back on. I don't see any residue, any oil coming down, even after starting the bike and letting it sit for a while. I don't see any residue or oil coming down from the drain plug, or any evidence that I didn't tighten it right, or I didn't tighten it too tight enough. So I don't see any oil down here by the filter. See the filter right there, or the drain plug. So I think we're good. But the oil is changed for the Z900, and that's one of the maintenance stuff that you have to do before the riding season, or you know, if you're in a area with a riding season or not, you know, mileage or anything like that. Anyways guys, I hope you liked the video. If there's anything that you saw that I missed, any advice on certain things that you saw I was struggling with, if I was struggling, I don't know. Taking video how-tos and doing it at the same time, you know, can kind of get a little bit confusing. Well anyways, if you like the video, go ahead and hit like. If you like the content, I want to go through other things as far as like chain tightening, chain loosening, getting your chain right, and all other maintenance stuff for the Z900 as we go. So if you like the video, like the content, go ahead and check out my other videos. I'm hoping to get back into another moto vlog soon to kind of talk to you about what's been going on the last 6 months. But that'll be another video. So go ahead and subscribe if you want to. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.